to another exciting video, and what I'm going to talk about today is do not overcomplicate your picking. That's right, what I'm going to talk about today is don't overcomplicate your picking. Now I'm going to try to explain this the best that I can and keep it as simple as I can, because therefore, when I first started, this actually, it complicated me when I tried to figure it out. So a long time ago, and I've mentioned this in a video before, I heard this guy say, if you're not alternate picking everything, then basically you suck at guitar. You should quit playing. And I thought, oh shit, I gotta get home. I gotta get home and start practicing, dude. So I went home and I practice alternate picking. And I quickly realized a couple of things. One, I have a limitation on my speed. I can only pick so fast. You know, you take guys like John Petrucci who can pick this fast. Well, I can only pick this fast. That's okay, because there's ways to work around that if you know what you're doing. But that wasn't the problem I was having, because I can still pick fairly fast alternate picking. You know, put it this way, I play in an 80s rock and metal band, and I haven't come across anything yet that I haven't been able to pick. Let's put it that way. But I'm by no means the fastest. Not even close. Don't claim to be, don't care to be. But one thing I did notice, and like I said, this rings back to that guy saying if you're not alternate picking everything, then you suck at guitar. One thing I did notice on that little clip I played at the very beginning, that little run, and you probably really can't tell from watching it, but if you watch what I do here, and this is what I'm talking about, when I picked this passage, and I'm going to alternate pick everything, and I want you to see what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to over-exaggerate the right hand so you can see the movement and the motions. Right there, I have outside picks. What does that mean? If I'm playing on the B and E string and I'm picking on the outside, the space between the two strings will be the inside. This is the inside, these are the outside. Now, on that little passage there, it has those outside picks. And when I started really getting into alternate picking, you know, and playing in bands and all this good stuff, one thing I started to notice, and I didn't know why at first, is when I was doing really fast passages, they would, you know, be in time, then they would move a little out of time, then they'd come back in. They'd move a little bit back out of time, then they would come back in. And I couldn't figure out, because I've got a fantastic internal clock. I mean, I played drums for 5 years, I play piano, I play guitar. My rhythm is spot on, clockwise. And I couldn't figure it out. I understand tempo. I know how it works, I know what it is. What the hell is going on here? Why am I having these drifting problems when I'm playing fast passages? And it took me a while to figure it out. And this relates back to that dude saying if you don't alternate pick everything, then you suck at guitar. Well, he's an idiot. I can't remember who the guy was, and if I saw him, I would tell him, well, you're an idiot. Because you don't have to alternate pick everything to be a good guitar player. Look at Tom Quayle. Hell, he doesn't hardly pick anything, and he's a freaking beast of a guitar player. Guy makes me sick. It makes me sick watching him play. But when I was alternate picking everything, and when I would come to these outside picking passages is where my time started, and it took me a while to notice it. That's where my time started to drift. And I'm going to try to equate this the easiest way I can. If we have a piece of road this long, let's say it's a mile, and we have 10 seconds to get through this mile. I know, but stay with me, okay? Then we have a road 2 miles long, and this guy has the same 10 seconds to get there. That means this guy has to move a hell of a lot faster than this guy to get there at the same time. And that is my point. Something has to move faster to get to the same point when your picking strokes are bigger. Now, if we're doing something very rhythmic, very 16, you know, let's say it's just 16th beats straight through. All right, think about this. If I'm picking, and watch my right hand, and I'm playing on one string, it requires minimal movement to pick that. So what happens when I have all of a sudden these big outside picks I have to take? Now I'm traveling a much greater distance, but I have the same amount of time to get there. And that's where I noticed my problem was. Because if I'm moving everything here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm moving everything here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I had two outside picks, even though you can still stay on 1, 2, 3, 4, but all of a sudden somewhere the speed has to jump because of the amount of distance we're traveling between the two strings. You can't keep the same speed and I'm going to show you right here, and keep that outside. You're going to move a greater distance, and like I said, this is kind of hard to explain. You're going to move a greater distance, so in order to keep that same tempo, at one point, the speed of this hand has to vary in order to keep the rhythmic time of the beat. And this is what I'm talking about. If I'm doing this and I'm going, and if I play it up here, well, if I do both of them and I'm doing outside, I have a greater distance I have to travel there. So when I go from here to here, this hand physically has to speed up just a little bit to cover the distance. Okay, so you really probably don't notice it at that speed too much. But if I crank up the speed, here's where the problem comes in. If you notice right there, this hand's not getting to the same spot at the same time because I'm picking as close to as fast as I can. Like I said, I can't pick 1,000,000 miles an hour, and that's okay. But I'm picking probably 90% of my picking speed right there. And I can't pick faster if I want to keep things on time. Because even at 90%, you noticed that this got here before this got here. Because this is staying on the time. This is moving this time, but on those outside picks, this has to speed up. And I'm already coming close to my speed cap. So that's going to put this hand a little out of time with this hand. That's just physics. There's no way around it. And if this is not happening to you, then you're playing songs at a speed you can play. But I promise you, if you're outside picking and you're at the top of your speed, it's going to fail. Because at the top of your speed on outside picking passages, this hand has to speed up incrementally to get the same time as what this is playing, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. So what I noticed is I'm having this time issue. And the time issue is strictly when I'm on outside picks. This finger is getting there before this pick stroke because of the distance I have to travel. So that leaves me two options. Actually, it leaves me three options. One is to be out of time. Well, that's not an option. Two is to pick up the speed of the outside picks of this hand. Well, that's really not much of an option either because I'm already almost at my speed limit already. So the third option, shorten the stroke. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm a huge fan of economy picking. I've always been a huge fan of economy picking. And when I played that passage at the very beginning, and like I said, you probably did not notice it, but what I actually played was this. I eliminated one of the outside picks, and that helped me keep everything on time because I took that distance from the two outsides and I cut it in half. I no longer have to go from outside a string and have this arc. Now I just got to push straight through. So I cut the distance in half. And once I realized that, then my timing started being in time on everything in the fast passages. Because I didn't have that big arc that I had to jump over from outside to outside, and I didn't have that little speed burst I had to pick up. Even though it's minute, but it's enough, and you can hear it on my guitar, it's enough to make it fall slightly behind where it needs to be. So what I did is, like I said, you start the sound, you have down, up, down. Now right here we're going to have a up, down, down. Now normally right there that would be an up, and that causes us to have this big jump. And that's where I noticed my time would slightly come out. And then as the solo went on, I would pull it back in. Then I had to have this big outside downside jump, and it would slightly pull back out, and then I would pull it back in. And that wasn't good enough. So I started economy picking. I started removing strokes I felt I didn't need in the passage. My only goal is to go from A to D. I don't give a shit how I get there. I don't care if it's alternate picking, economy picking, or playing legato. I don't care. All I care is I get from A to D. What happens in B and C? Who gives a shit? Just play the song. You don't have to pick everything. You don't have to alternate pick everything. There's other ways to get around the track by taking shortcuts. And you still end up at the finish line when you're done. So again, what I did here, if I did this, everything alternate picked, it would be down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Right, here's that big jump. And you can see my hand. Watch my right hand. And then if I finish that out, I got another jump back. Outside, outside, outside. That is a guitar player's nightmare when everything is on the outside. That is a nightmare. And don't get me wrong, there are guys that can do it. I'm not that guy. So I accommodate. I make things work the way they need to work for me. So if I play this again, but if I play it the way I play it, by eliminating one outside stroke, it makes my playing more fluid and puts everything back in time. And it's so much easier to play as opposed to having those outside jumps. And even on the outside jump, when I'm playing it, it'll get almost a staccato feel. It's just so much faster, and it makes so much more sense to me to minimize as much movement as we can. Take the shorter strokes. Economy pick where you can. And I promise you, it's going to save you time and keep you on time. Because having 3 outside strokes is a tremendous amount of movement for your right hand. And unless you have the ability, playing something very rhythmic, a solo, unless you have the ability to crank up that speed by 10% during that, while this hand stays in time, it's always going to be off time, every time. So try that out. Let me know how you like it. Let me know how it works. Please subscribe to the channel. I said this in my last video. Only 4.4% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed. 4.4. I had 10,000 hours of videos watched last month, and only 4.4 of the people were subscribed. That means I've got 95% of the people who watch my channel who are not subscribed. I want to get to 10%. So if you watch the video, if you like it, if you feel you got some use out of this or any of my other videos on my channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please like it because that helps tremendously. And please share the video and maybe they'll like it and maybe they'll subscribe. And then I can get up to 10%. But on that note, I'm going to wrap it up right there. And like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss a beat, you lose the rhythm and nothing falls into place. And for the love of God, no matter what you do, rock on.